As I mentioned earlier, you don't have to do backbends to set links with Dreamweaver. In fact, it's really quite simple. But you do have to have more than one page so that you have something to link to. So let's take this lovely image of this very smart dog using a laptop, delete it from this page, and let's create a new page that just has that picture on it. So again, File, New. I'm just going to create a blank HTML page with nothing special about it. Create. And let's bring in our dog days. And here's yet another way to add images to a page. If the image is already in your site folder and displays here in the local files panel, you can just click and drag it from there into the page, and Dreamweaver will automatically link it. Now, the reason it's giving me this error message right now is because I haven't saved the page yet. And I wanted you to see one of the reasons it's good practice to save a page as soon as you create it is because if you don't, Dreamweaver has to create this kind of temporary path to your image. When you insert an image into a page, you're essentially creating an instruction in the HTML code that tells the browser where that image is in relationship to the page. So Dreamweaver is going to sort of help me out here until I save this page, but it's one of the reasons that I always recommend you save pages first. So again, we're going to want some alternate text. Simply describing what the image is fine. And I'm going to go ahead now and save the page. And I'm just going to call this dog.html. Now, as I mentioned, no spaces or special characters, but you can use dashes or hyphens in file names. And you want to make sure this is in your site root folder. If you've ever moved around in this dialog and you want to get back, you can just click the site root button, and Dreamweaver will make sure that you're saving that file in the folder you identified in Dreamweaver as your local root folder for your site. On a PC, this is in a slightly different place in the dialog, but it still says site root. Click Save, and notice that it appears automatically now in my Files panel. So I have an index page, and I have a dog.html page. And if I want to tighten this up, I can click on that little arrow so I can just see those two page names. Now, if I want to link from my index page to my dog page, so I might say something here like, you don't have to do backbends to set links, but you do have to love your dog. Again, you can type anything you want, but let me show you that if you wanted to link that entire sentence to the page called dog.html, the first thing you would do is highlight the text. And then, like most things in Dreamweaver, there are a number of ways to set links. One of them is to use the Insert panel. Again, you can open this by choosing Window, Insert, if it's not already open. Make sure you're in the Common section of the Insert panel. So this is the Common Insert panel, officially. And now click on the Hyperlink button. Here you'll see automatically the text that I selected is inserted into that text field. Now I have a field called Link, followed by another one of these buttons that looks like a file folder. And as I mentioned, anytime you see a file folder icon like this, it means browse in Dreamweaver. So I can browse, and Dreamweaver is smart enough to know that probably what I want to look for is in my site root folder. So it's very easy now just to select dog.html, click Choose or hit the Return button, and that's all you have to do to set a link. The rest of these fields are optional. So for now, let's just click OK. And you see that that text has been turned into a link, and when we preview this page in a moment, we'll be able to follow it to the dog page. But before we do that, let's set a link back to our index page. And this time let's do it by selecting the image. Now again, you can click on the hyperlink option. Of course, you won't see any text, but you can use this Browse button to link, or you can select the image and use the link field in the Property Inspector. Again, simply click on that Browse button, select the page you want to link to. In this case, I'm linking to the index page, my home page, from the dog page. Click Choose, and now you see that blue line around that image? By default in Dreamweaver, as soon as you set a link, Dreamweaver is going to add the link color to whatever it is, whether it's an image or text or anything else. If you don't like that outline, just select the image again, and in the border field, enter a 0. When you set the border to 0, even if the image is linked, that border disappears. Now let's save this page. go back to our index page and save that page, just using Command S or Control S to save. And now let's preview this in a web browser so we can actually test the links. Firefox saying it wants to be my default browser. I guess I'll let it have that option for now. As you'll see in the next lesson, you can add many browsers to Dreamweaver to make it very easy to preview your pages in more than one browser. But let's go back to testing this link. But you do have to love your dog. And if I click on that, I go to see my lovely dog. And the dog now, see the hand appears when I roll over the image. When I click on him, I go right back to my index page. Now there are a couple of other kinds of links you're likely to want to create. So let's just quickly go over the different link options in Dreamweaver. Another link you often want to create would be an external link or a link to another website. As I mentioned earlier, the photos in this section come from a website called istockphoto.com, so let's go ahead and create a link there. Now again, you can link any text you want or an image using this process. You'll simply select the text you want to link, and again I can click on the hyperlink box. In this case, the text will already be there, and I can just type the link into the link field. Now notice that I typed the http://, and you're probably thinking, well, in a browser you don't have to enter that anymore. In fact, you usually don't even have to enter the W's anymore. However, when you're creating a link on your web pages, it behooves you to type the entire link. Include that http:// and create a complete link to the site. So I'll click OK. And again, you see it's underlined now. You can tell this is linked in that way. And if I select it here or simply put my cursor here and I come down to the Properties Inspector, now make sure you're in the HTML section of the Properties Inspector, you'll see the link also appears in the link field in the Property Inspector. And you can create and edit this link by typing it into this field as well as typing it in to the hyperlink dialog. Let's create one other kind of link and then I'll test them both. The other kind of link that's very common is an email link. So let's say you want to link to email Janine or email Webmaster or whoever you might want to email from the website. Again, selecting that text, or if it's an image, simply clicking to select the image itself. And in this case, I highly recommend that you use the email link option because there's a little extra bit of code that Dreamweaver will put in if you use this icon in this dialog. So my email address, Janine@jcwarner.com, and click OK. But I want you to notice down here now in this link field, in addition to my email address, you also see this mail to : and that's very important. When you create an email link on a web page, one of the things that distinguishes it from other kinds of links is that mail to : So if you type it into this link field yourself, you'll have to type that in manually and make sure you include that, mail to : no space, and then the email address. If you use the email link icon, Dreamweaver will take care of that for you. Now if we preview this page in a browser, of course it's going to ask me to save it before I preview. So now, much as we tested our but you have to love your dog links to make sure those worked, you can click on the external link, and as long as your computer is connected to the internet, it should bring you to the website, in this case to iStockPhoto. The email link will only work for your visitors if they have an email program associated with their web browser. Now most of us have an email program on our computers set up to work with our browsers, but you should be aware that someone surfing from a cyber cafe or school or someplace where they don't have email set up may not be able to use that link. And for that reason, some people like to actually include the email address in that link, not just create the link. One last thing about that, however, as soon as you put a link on a web page like this, you do open yourself up to spammers. There are many people out there who have figured out that they control websites to collect email addresses off the websites and sell those addresses or use them for spam. There are a couple of ways around that. If you visit my website at digitalfamily.com/Dreamweaver, you'll find some online resources that you can use, and one of them is a nifty little program that lets you block your email address from spammers. So now let me quit out of this program, and we'll come right back to Dreamweaver.